What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here to talk to you about a horror movie that was on Amazon Prime called The Haunted Hotel. This is an anthology movie from this year. I was going through stuff on Amazon Prime and I saw this and saw that it was rated people of the age of 13 and up. And I thought that was interesting. You don't see a whole lot of PG-13 level horror movies. Most of the time, or at least most of the ones I saw on Amazon anyway, were all rated R. So I thought it was an interesting idea. I don't think I've really ever watched any anthology movies before, so I gave this a try, and I think I can say I liked the attempt better than the final product. I don't want to be too mean. This is still a fairly recent movie, and I mean, I'm just a nobody on YouTube, but I don't like the idea of if I say something mean or disparaging about this movie, that it's going to turn audiences away from watching it. You can watch it for free on Amazon Prime. I would encourage you to do so. Form your own opinion about it, regardless of what I say. I will say I think I like the idea behind it, but seeing the execution of it, I didn't care for that as much. I like seeing anthology stuff, and I would love to see more done with this idea. But I think it just feels very cheap. I did not recognize any of the directors, any of the writers, or any of the actors in this movie. It felt like somebody found a whole bunch of local actors in some town in Great Britain and then filmed this thing with a budget of $5, and it just isn't very good. I really don't want to be mean. I'm trying very hard not to be negative in this review, but in each story, I'm not going to talk about each story, the camera work feels like something that I could have done. It feels very amateurish. At times, it's serviceable. It's always serviceable. But at no point did I really feel like I was watching an actual movie. This felt like a student film, a long student film. And the acting, I won't say any of the acting was bad per se, but since I had never heard of any of these actors, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that everyone working in this movie doesn't have a lot of experience under their belt. I would say they probably had some experience on stage, maybe. I highly doubt that any of these people have had major speaking roles in television or films. I have seen television shows with better production values than this movie. I didn't look up what the budget was, but I cannot imagine that it was very high. Each story, I would say some of the stories I kind of liked, some of them not so much. Each story is set in this hotel in different decades. There's one of them at some point in the 1800s. It's when Charles Dickens is a young man and nobody's heard of him yet. That's the oldest one. And then all the others are in the 20th century. There's one in the 1980s. There's, I think, two in the 60s. There's one in the 50s, one in the 60s. There's one in the late 90s, and then there's one in 2019. I will say most of them I was kind of thinking, okay, this is kind of cute. There was one I flat out just did not like. A couple of them kind of had the same ending. I won't spoil what the ending was. I won't even say, if I say the ending, I'm not even going to say which stories it would be for, but if I said the ending, then you would know to look for it in all the stories, so I'm not going to say what the ending was. But I don't think that the movie is especially good, but if anthology things are your bag, I would at least suggest you check it out. You might like it more than I did. That's very likely because there have been movies that I talked about this month that people like that I don't. So it's possible that you might like this. And I would encourage people to at least give something a chance if you've never heard of it before. And you never know, there could be a low-budget thing from somebody you've never heard of before that ends up being really good. That has happened before. You have major filmmakers like the guy who did the Fantastic movie, Josh Trank, couldn't think of his name, Gareth Edwards. These guys started off as small filmmakers and then got these huge blockbusters that they got to more or less have creative control over for the most part. But you never know whenever you're going to see something that seems to be really small and then it blows up and this person becomes huge. I don't know if that's going to happen to any of the people who are involved with this, but maybe, you never know. I will say it's not scary, not in the slightest. In fact, it's really more, I guess part of it is it being PG-13. It feels very family friendly. In fact, I watched this with my parents. There's nothing objectionable in this movie. There is one almost like it almost became a rape scene, but it didn't. But that's the closest to anything uncomfortable in this movie. I do not understand why this was categorized as horror on Amazon Prime. Maybe someone just saw the title, oh, Haunted Hotel, okay, horror. It's not scary. This feels very comfortable. I could easily see this on the Freeform network or some other family channel on TV. And if it was rated R, I don't know if it would have been any scarier. I think part of the problem here is that this being an anthology, each story is going to be less than 10 minutes long. The whole thing in total was like an hour and 35. And so if you have 8 stories, I don't know how much time that allots for each one, but you don't have a whole lot of time for the scary bits because you're having to build up to the scary bits in each story. And so that leaves you with very little time for the scary bits overall. So maybe if this was one singular story, there would have been more scary elements, but I doubt it. So overall, I would have to categorize this more as a miss than a hit, but I do like the attempt. I like the idea of anthology movies, and other than Creepshow from the 80s or maybe the late 70s, I cannot think of more versions of this. Maybe there are, and they're just so small time that I just have not heard of them. Most of the movies I hear of are big time things that are closer to the blockbuster level than something small and low budget like this. So maybe this is more common than what I'm aware of. But I didn't especially care for it. But hey, go check it out. It can't hurt. It's a short movie. You might enjoy it. Watch a few of the segments, and if it's not really your thing, you can turn it off. But anyway, those are my thoughts on The Haunted Hotel. Probably should have done an actual horror movie review for today, but I wanted to try different things throughout October. So anyway, those are my thoughts on this movie. I will see you guys tomorrow with a different movie. In the meantime, have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.